Surprisingly big-time implications at flyweight coming up this weekend. Long and gone are the lofty aspirations that we all put on Miranda Maverick, and since making that awesome debut back in 2020 over Liana Jojua, a 3-3 salty record for Maverick, coming in here taking on Priscila Cachoeira, who just struggles to make the weight every single time.
She's like John Lineker.
Every single time, Priscila Cachoeira is supposed to take on one Karine Silva back at the end of the winter. Entering the spring, she comes in at 130 for a 125-pound fight. Priscila Cachoeira, you go through the entire career. What else? 129 pounds against Jillian Robertson. Got submitted in that one. Against Courtney Casey, she was scheduled to take a fight. She fell in the bathtub allegedly. The fight is off.
Allegedly. I don't know if I wouldn't believe her.
Cutting complications. And she also had a 4-month USADA suspension back in 2019 due to blood pressure issues with the medication. So if you look at it overall, Priscila Cachoeira, a black cloud over her head since she's been in the UFC. And it's unfortunate because if you look at it, 4-4 with the promotion. She's been an underdog in every single matchup, so she's cashed in 4 of those opportunities. You see those big-time knockouts. You see the big-time right hand. The fight of the night that she had back against Ji-Yeon Kim, where she cried like it was Monster's Ball, and she gets a belt up in jiu-jitsu that had nothing to do with her striking performance. She also had a performance bonus with that big-time Marge Simpson right uppercut against Shanna Dobson. You think I didn't watch that fight today? You're right, I did.
I swear a lot for this one.
If you're looking at this fight, though, I opened it the way that I wanted to because this has big-time implications. If Miranda Maverick loses this fight, it feels like, hey, go back and get seasoned with Invicta.
And I agree with you 100%. This is one of those fights where the loser is kind of more important for them than it is the winner, because you break it down perfectly. Priscila Cachoeira, when you watch her skills, when you watch her in the cage, she's a fun fighter to watch, right? She has good power for the division. She is going to make some mistakes, don't get me wrong. She is much more power punching over really anything on the feet, but still, that makes for a fun style at 125 pounds because we don't often see fighters like her in this division. But this is an interesting fight because, like you said, Miranda Maverick was that golden goose. She was the prince that was, I guess, the princess that was promised, if you will. And it has been a bit of a difficult run for her, but to her credit, a lot of those losses have been to kind of other fighters who are in that similar category as her. We have other prospects who are trying to work their way up, and that's the weird thing, right? We sometimes have cards where you'll see 2 or 3 kind of prospect v prospect fights. But Miranda Maverick, it seems like a lot of her fights have been some of those matchups. Like, look at the Aaron Blanchfield one. So, for Miranda Maverick, I still think the skill set is there, and that's why I have a really hard time kind of jumping off, because I do think Maverick, if she is able to go out there and put 2, maybe 3 impressive performances together, maybe we will see her rekindle some of that hype that she once had, but I think that's a really good point you bring up. How, if she does lose this, maybe it is time to go to Invicta and add a little bit more seasoning so that she can get that experience.
Maverick's beaten fighters that are no longer in the UFC. Maverick's lost to fighters that are in the top 15. Blanchfield is 3, and Tyler Santos is 3, so we'll say Blanchfield's ranked 4th. You also have the 8th ranked Macy Barber. I know a lot of people thought Maverick won that fight. I did as well. And then you look at the last loss against Jasmine Jasudavicius. That was probably one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
Like, she came out of the gate pretty strong, but then faded as it went on. Like, that one was a really tough fight. But if you go through it and you look at both these fighters, for Cachoeira, training at MMA Masters since early 2023. She was promised a fight against Sijara Eubanks. Eubanks struggled to make the weight. Then the Karine Silva fight, now a fight against Miranda Maverick. And this fight was thrown together on a little bit of short notice. It was announced on July 13th that out was Joanne Wood against Cachoeira. Short notice for Miranda Maverick, who competed at UFC 289 back in Vancouver not that long ago. And if you look at it from Miranda Maverick, I mean, she's kind of bounced around between gyms since she's been in the UFC. It was a lot of time at pound for pound Muay Thai, Elevation, training with Raquel Pennington, Tisha Torres, and the gals there. Training for this one at a couple of different gyms, and I'll throw them up there on the screen because you see a little bit of the land of the misfit toys. And I'm going to make a comparison in this fight, but Miranda Maverick out of not Glory MMA and Fitness, but Marathon MMA. That's the Trey Ogden gym, training with Garrett Armfield, but also training at the Goat Shed with Jillian Robertson. And Maverick's trained with Robertson a little bit off and on, not just for this camp, but in the past as well. Maverick had that fight against Robertson, got the win. Cachoeira obviously has the fight against Robertson. It's a loss. MMA math, you know what to do. But if you do look at this one overall, a negative strike differential for Cachoeira, and it's not just because that 95-2 line against Valentina Shevchenko. She got outstruck by Ji-Yeon Kim. She went out there, did Cachoeira her last time out, looked great against Ariane Lipski. She clipped her, she moved it back, and that was a fight that was a special bantamweight fight, not because of Cachoeira, but it got shuffled and reshuffled because Lipski had some issues with COVID. But the fight that I look at in this one, Matt, Cachoeira against Gina Mazzani, where Cachoeira grabbing the fence multiple times. Jason Herzog, if I'm not mistaken, was the referee in that one. Mazzani, body lock, trip takedown. Takedown number 1, takedown number 2. Number 3 was a spear, and then the third one in the second round, the fourth takedown in the second round was a single into a double in open space. And then once Mazzani got back up in that second round, she had 0 gas left, and Cachoeira pushed it on her. Gets a finish, gets a great win there. But with Maverick, training with some of those folks that have trained with Mazzani in the past, Maverick, who, if she brings together the grappling, I think she can definitely get a win in this one. But Maverick, now I have question marks on every single one of her performances.
And that's the thing about Maverick. She's not going to go out there and get a ton of finishes via TKO. I know against Jojua in her early fight, she had that beautiful elbow that really caused a lot of damage to the nose. But for Maverick, it really is a case of how good can you look for those 15 minutes and really use every area of your game plan. I'm glad you bring up Priscila's striking numbers, though, because I saw those too. I kind of don't look into them that much, and this is why. She's a massive power puncher. Power punchers, more often than not, aren't going to play that volume game on the outside. So for Priscila, you will often see her kind of be down on the significant strike numbers, but still winning the battle because her strikes are that much more powerful, and that's what I really come down to in this fight. For Priscila to have a lot of success, she's going to have to plant her own feet to land those big hooks. Every time she plants those feet to land those hooks, she's not a striker who does well at kind of getting out before she gets the receipt. She will spend that extra half second, full second, 2 seconds in the pocket, and not that I think Miranda Maverick's going to make her pay with the strikes, but if you do find yourself a little bit stationary in some of those moments, Miranda Maverick should be able to go 4 takedowns. But I am glad you bring up that Gina Mazzani fight, because it shows that, hey, if Miranda Maverick is having a lot of success in that first and second round with her own offensive wrestling, but she's not doing enough to get Priscila out of there, Cacheira at this point has proven that she is in the top tier of power punchers. I'm not saying the rest of her game is top tier whatsoever, but she can definitely go out there and damage Miranda Maverick enough to at least make this fight close going down the stretch. And that's the weird thing that I have with this fight. Miranda Maverick could win the first 2 rounds, and it could still be one of those weird kind of draws at the end. Like, if she's eating a lot of damage, if she's getting hurt, not saying I think Priscilla's some cardio king, let me just get that out of the way right now in case I'm leading you guys to believe it, but I could see this as a fight where Miranda starts off looking really good. A lot of people think, hey, we're seeing that version that we once did, and then she could get into some trouble as this fight continues.
Well, it'll be really interesting to see. Maverick is a heavy favorite in the matchup, no surprise there. If we have a look at the Topology votes, surprise to us there to you, I'm going to say over under 82.5% Maverick.
I'll say under, just for fun.
And it is under. 811 total votes, 68% Maverick, 76% by decision for the 32% that have Cachoeira. 53% think she's going to win a decision, and 31% think that she's going to win a knockout. If Priscila Cachoeira beats Miranda Maverick by a decision, that would surprise me. And Maverick's not somebody that gets, knocked down or knocked out all that often, but Cachoeira is that special breed of a flyweight that could very well get it done. Training at MMA Masters again. Colby Covington out of that gym. Some fighters that have left that gym recently too. I do have Maverick in this one, and I think that the grappling is going to be a big deal, especially training with Robertson in Florida and training in that Kansas City area with Trey Ogden and Garrett Armfield. When's Trey Ogden at his best? When he's using his takedowns. Hasn't done it in the UFC, but that's when he's at his best. So I do like Maverick in the matchup, but this is a chintzy fight if there's ever been one.
I think she just has more tools in the toolbox. And yes, that one tool that Cachoeira has is a massive machete, and if she's able to land those strikes, we all kind of know where this fight's going to go.
Who's keeping a machete in their tool belt?
I was going more for like Swiss Army knife versus machete, I guess. The one knife does a really good job, but it is kind of limited in the ways that you can use it, and that's how I look at Priscila. If she's going to have success, everybody and their mom knows what she's going to do. She's going to walk forward, throw big power shots, and try to get the win that way. I just don't know if that kind of a game plan is going to be sustainable enough against Maverick, so that's why I also have Miranda.
Jacob, I need you to cut that 2x4 within 5/8 of an inch. Pull your machete out. It's time! Let's go, Matt. Both of us going with Miranda Maverick in the matchup. Some big-time fights on this card, including, Derrick Lewis taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. You're not going to want to miss that. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.